Well, hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to meet the new commissioner of the Pac-12 Conference on his visit to the University of Arizona, spending, as he'll share, spending some time on all of our campuses, all 12 of our campuses, to listen, to learn, and to get a feel for the things that go on the campus level. Know he's had time with our head coaches, had time with senior administrators across campus, and we'll continue to go throughout the afternoon and tomorrow morning visiting with other members of our staff and our student athletes as well. You know, the experience that our students have on our campuses in the Pac-12 is incredibly important. I think it separates who we are as a conference. The true commitment to excellence in athletics, but really a passionate commitment about the overall student experience, that these truly are students that are able to excel at all levels when they come into the college environment. And I know that that's something we share across the spectrum in this league. Lots has happened nationally that George can talk about and address, but I'm just really pleased and proud of the new leadership that we have, and I know the future is incredibly bright. So I'm going to turn it over to you, George, and welcome to the University of Arizona, and welcome to our great group of media that cover us here in this community.
It's nice to meet everybody. I am on a listening tour of all 12 of our campuses. This is number 10. Next week I'm visiting Arizona State and the University of Washington. I was trying to get all of those visits in place prior to our September 28th college football playoff meeting, because I wanted to get in-person feedback from all of our schools before I represented the conference at that meeting. So happy to answer any questions.
Question for George. Jay?
Speaking of the 28th, has the conference already settled on a position for that, or are you still hearing out the schools?
Yeah, until I meet with all of the schools, we won't have a settled position. Directionally, I would say the conference is very much in favor of expanding the college football playoffs. We think it's important to do that in the proper structure. We're working through the 12-team proposal, a lot of good stuff in there. A couple of concerns that we're working through with our football head coaches, our athletic directors, our faculty athletic reps, and some of the other folks who have a say in that expansion proposal, and we'll have a position ready for the 28th, but we're not ready to talk about it yet.
Dave, what was the biggest thing that you wanted to get to the commissioner, telling him about the importance, or things you wanted to stress from an Arizona standpoint? Mr. Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind, what have you learned so far by going through this listening tour that you might not have known when we talked to you at Pac12 Media Day?
Well, I guess I think, you know, we want to communicate and share. And, you know, again, this isn't the first time we've been together. Had the opportunity of the athletic directors to be in Las Vegas at the Raider Stadium, at Allegiant Stadium, to really start to talk about where this conference has been, where it can go. I think strong leadership in a time of a lot of change in intercollegiate athletics across the national landscape, and how to make sure that our conference is positioned in the best position, you know, the best spot it possibly can be, was first and foremost for us. You know, we work very collaboratively with our presidents and our chancellors in our governance structure. The involvement of the athletic directors, the on-the-ground practitioners are very important to give really constructive and positive, or negative feedback to the conference office about how we can be better. So I think that opening, that really good communication is very key.
Was there something specific that you wanted him to know about the University of Arizona?
Other than it's the best place in the conference, I mean, I think
that's
again,
a consistent message.
No, I think again that we are a true partner in this great conference, and we want to be a very active, positive part of growth and the evolution of the college model, as all of us do in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I think the two kind of obvious takeaways from the 10 schools that I've been to is, number one, the great pride in being part of the Pac-12 Network and the Pac-12 Conference, and that has kind of resonated and was tested when the Texas and Oklahoma news came through. And very early in my tenure, I got to kind of talk to each of the presidents and chancellors and hear their recommitment to our conference, and very proud of that. The other is just the quality of our student athletes. Going in, you could probably guess at the high quality of the student athletes given the institutions we have in the conference, but once you sit down and meet with them and talk to them, throughout all of my meetings, they are incredibly well prepared, thoughtful, have done their homework, ask interesting questions, just very impressive young men and women.
What did the conversations look like with the Arizona coaches today that you were able to meet?
Yeah, they had a lot of questions about a lot of the issues that are facing collegiate athletics, name, image, and likeness, and the CFP expansion, and what the Alliance will mean for their individual sports, and we talked through all of those.
Any specifics on what you were able to offer them in terms of, were you able to answer the questions that they asked?
I thought I answered the questions. You probably should ask them. Yeah.
And then what is your take on the current state of the Pac12 network and ways that it can be improved?
Yeah, so the Pac12 network is interesting. I think you have to separate the production value from distribution. And when I focus on the production that the Pac12 network does, I'm very proud of what we do. We do 850 live events, which puts us ahead of any of the other conferences. I think the quality of the camera work, editing, voiceover, play-by-play is excellent. I've had 25 years in sports media, and I think we do a really, really good job. We're doing a little bit less of the shoulder programming than historically we've done. That's a cut that was related to COVID, and we're going to be revisiting that decision. So I'm proud of the content quality and quantity. We have issues and challenges with our distribution agreements, and I've been transparent about that. The distribution is not where I want it to be. I've spent time looking at the contracts in my first 2.5 months. I don't see an easy fix there. The good news is 3 years from now, we own all of our content, which sets us apart from any of the other Power 5 conferences. We'll be able to take all of that content and significantly increase the distribution of the content. And I'm focused on that. There's not a short fix for our distribution issues, and I want to be transparent with our fans about that.
A lot of fans of the Pac-12, they've expressed their displeasure with accessibility to Pac-12 networks. How much has that been brought up to you?
That is the number one thing that ends up in my inbox. I get letters about it, emails about it, and certainly my Twitter feed is full of it.
And how do you just go about fixing those issues?
As I just mentioned, I think those are really difficult issues because of the natures of our existing distribution contracts for the Pac-12 network to fix during the next 3 years. And I want to be transparent with our fans that that's a difficult thing to fix, and there's no easy answers there. But once we get past these 3 years, we're going to be thinking very differently about how we distribute our content, make sure it's much more accessible.
But I would just follow up that is top of mind awareness of all of us in the conference, of how our network, how our distribution, the types of events that we produce are critical to the success going forward. And it is top of mind for all of us.
When you get into that stage where you are actually negotiating new media rights deals, do you think that the Pac-12 or college football in general is ready to go to some sort of hybrid model where it's some broadcast TV and maybe it's some sort of streaming outlet is a big chunk of that?
Absolutely. I mean, my career history is digital media. I've been fortunate enough to be part of the launch of Hulu. I was deeply involved in some of the ESPN Plus creation. I think that digital distribution is absolutely part of the future of the distribution of media content. And what we have to do is think about all of our media rights, and specifically because we own all of those rights, how do we slice and dice that content and distribute it on different platforms based on, whether it's a tier 1 piece of content or a tier 4 piece of content. And we'll think about that differently. And I think the nice part about where we sit is all of the mega trends underlying media distribution are working in our favor. Kind of every month, every quarter that we wait, there's more demand for this content. We'll have more bundled media services available to consumers. Sports content is by far the most valuable content in the world. It is the only content that people don't fast forward through commercials for. Pac-12 specifically attracts one of the most attractive demographic audiences for our sports content in the world. And I think we're going to be in a unique position where we're going to have multiple bidders for every tier of our content. I'm very enthusiastic about what it's going to look like when we get to renegotiate these deals.
Is there any mechanism between now and then to make the Pac-12 networks available, like on I don't know what the exact term is, but where you can just pay for it?
No, the content that's on the Pac-12 networks, I've looked into. I can't give away for free, and I can't separately bundle and sell as a standalone subscription service. and we're contractually required to create 850 live events a year, and we're stuck with some contracts that make it very difficult to do broader distribution on larger distribution networks.
Go back to Alec and then Jim.
Is there anything that surprised you, but outside of the distribution stuff, about being a commissioner since taking over?
Well, the part that has really surprised me is how many very material things are going on in college athletics all at the same time. My first day on the job was July 1st, which was the first day of NIL, and the first day that our student athletes could accept money for the use of their brands without losing their eligibility. But in the middle of all of that, we were also dealing with the Alston decision from the Supreme Court, CFP expansion being announced publicly before it had been vetted by the entire group, and shortly after I started, the NCAA deciding that they were going to hold a constitutional convention to reconsider what their responsibilities would be and what they'd hand down to the conferences and to the individual schools. And then, of course, Texas and Oklahoma happened. So I've had a fairly busy first couple of months, and that's what surprised me is how many of these issues are all hitting at the same time.
Can you talk a little bit in detail about the benefits for the Pac-12 and the ACC Big Ten Alliance and how this is going to help you, especially when it comes to the renegotiated media rights and standing up, facing off with the SEC, if you will?
Yeah, I don't think of this as a face-off against the SEC. There's nothing like that. What we have is 41 institutions, 41 presidents and chancellors who are aligned in their belief in the collegiate model and about the future of college athletics and what that should look like. And we're very focused on what we believe, not what other people believe. What I would say is the alliance has three components, and I think it's important to understand each one of them. The first is an agreement among the three conferences and the 41 institutions to do whatever we can to accelerate how we think about supporting student athletes. So leadership development, career development, physical, mental health, governance, all the things that our student athletes are involved in and benefit from. We have an agreement among the three commissioners and among the 41 institutions to use best practices and share that among the four conferences to benefit our student athletes. The second is thinking about the governance model and some of the other issues that we just discussed that are in front of college athletics. How do we work together on NIL, CFP expansion, the future of the NCAA. And again, this is not a voting block. We haven't agreed to vote, and we may not vote similarly on any of these issues, but it's an agreement to have discussions about those issues and to discuss how we can best protect the collegiate model and college athletics as we know it going forward as we face all of these really difficult issues. And then the third component, the one that's probably been the most public, is a scheduling component. So that starts with football. It extends to women's and men's basketball, and eventually will extend to all of our sports. And we have very specific thoughts about what the opportunities are before football and women's and men's basketball today. And we're going to challenge our coaches across the three conferences in all of the other sports to think about how they can grow their sports and support their student athletes through the Alliance.
I have one more question. Brian.
Like a lot of people, when they become more high profile, their old tweets get brought up. People are finding some of the fun stuff you had maybe said in the past about sports and all that. How are you anticipating using that as a mechanism, just your own account, as far as promoting the league and whatnot?
If someone looks, they will quickly determine through my old tweets that I'm a significant Virginia fan. I went there for grad school and a big supporter of their athletic programs. Listen, I think having an open, transparent dialogue with our fans is important. And I think I'm learning from my kids how to use social media. I'm very focused on Twitter, but I think it's great when someone's a fan of ours and can experience what I get to experience as the commissioner and can see our conference and our incredible teams through my eyes. So I'm dedicated to continuing to do that and looking forward to it.
We're out of time, unfortunately, Alec.
Sorry, we're on a quick timeline. Appreciate it, everyone, for being here. Thanks for it. The commissioner will be back at other times, too, so we'll always make him accessible when he's around.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.